Today I'm watching the Twilight Zone Season 1, Episode 18. The previous episode was about this couple that had won a trip to Vegas, and we see Franklin slowly starts to develop this gambling addiction, and the machine he thinks is coming to life and calling his name. And it wasn't my favorite episode. It kind of just felt more sad than anything. We did have a little bit of a sci-fi element with the machine coming to life, so that was interesting. But yeah, not my favorite episode that I've seen so far. This episode we know is about a World War I pilot in France who loses track of time, so I'm kind of anticipating time travel, something like that. That's my prediction given off of what Rod Serling said in the previous episode, so very curious to see where this is going to go. So thank you so much for sharing and this first time watching with me. If you have any other suggestions for TV shows you think I should watch, please comment below. And if you want to have a say in what movies or TV shows I watch, be sure to join Patreon. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and check back often for more awesome content. That's a cool shot with the clouds, yeah.
But also in time. And time in this case can be measured in eternities.
Well, that's ominous indeed. Okay, interesting. Not exactly like a welcome greeting.
Who in the name of... What do you mean running this antique in front of an approaching aircraft?
Antique, oh no. What year is it? I definitely feel like we're doing a time travel theme.
What? You better come with me.
It's definitely reminded me of like a few other TV shows I've seen where like people suddenly reappear years later. I'm definitely getting that vibe. Yeah, they don't, you know, just the way he's dressed even compared to them. Yeah.
You mean Royal Air Force?
No, sir. Royal Flying Corps.
I'm guessing that's what it was called before. Yeah. Is he a ghost? Yeah, very curious.
Are you making a film?
I'm afraid I don't quite understand you, sir.
You don't understand.
It's reminding me a little bit of the boat episode we had where they're the U-boat officer.
What year?
Why, 1917.
I think for him, he thinks it is. I don't think that's what the real world thinks.
Well, isn't it?
It's March the 5th, 1959.
Oh my gosh. He's been lost in the clouds for that long? What? Some like Bermuda Triangle in the sky? What's going on? This poor guy. He's been gone for so long. He'd be so confused.
Look here. You're not joking with me, are you?
And on the exact same day, obviously, too, like March the 5th, so that would be so confusing. And now he's seeing like how advanced the planes are, yeah, compared to his especially.
That cloud. While I was passing through it, I couldn't hear my engine.
That should have been a red flag.
He belonged to the sky, and the sky has taken him.
So spooky. Yeah, like this cloud has some abilities.
Guy. Air Vice Marshal Alexander Mackay is at this moment en route to this base for a tour of inspection.
Oh, okay, he's still alive at least.
But that's impossible!
Will he remember him?
Lieutenant Decker?
Because he's dead.
Oh my gosh, what? Okay, plot twist.
Believe him.
No, sir. It's just that I can't help feeling there's something more to this than just a hoax.
Yeah, like you could easily look it up and find out, you know, if he actually is who he says he is.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm curious if this has happened before. Have other people randomly come back? It's very odd timing for sure.
I'm not afraid of anything.
Well then?
Well, all right, I'll see him.
Good.
Yeah, if this guy passed away, how is he doing this tour then?
Mac got hit in a most embarrassing spot.
I always called him Old Leadbottom after that.
As he got shot in the butt. Oh, dear.
Of course, I was involved with 3 others.
Obviously, he got away.
I don't see how he could have.
Yeah, you're pretty outnumbered with that. Like,
He was one of Britain's great heroes during the Blitz. That was the second war we told you about.
yeah, he obviously wouldn't realize that there'd been another one. Oh my gosh, so much to catch up on. And the performances have been amazing, as always, so convincing.
He undoubtedly saved hundreds of lives. Maybe even thousands.
Yeah, that just makes it even more confusing. Like, somehow he survived both. And this poor guy, like you said, it all happened in one day for him. Like, this morning it was 1917. Ran through a mysterious cloud, and now it's 1959.
Ice cold killers in the sky, although not me, of course. No, not me.
Did he, just wish this into life, like he wanted to escape so badly?
I'll land behind the German lines, and I'll let myself be captured. The pilots always get the best of treatment, you know.
I don't think that, well,
Afraid that I'd be discovered and discredited. I couldn't bear that.
yeah, he's not like a bragging soldier. He just wants to try and avoid conflict as much as possible.
Well, what makes you think he knows, anyway?
Because it was me that let the Germans trap him.
What?
But I thought you said you were fighting 3 German planes yourself.
What?
When I was running,
Oh my gosh. He could have helped.
I left him up there to die.
Oh no, Decker. Well, this is gonna be awkward for sure.
Maybe I was brought here for a purpose. To find out that Mac had survived. To find out that time was giving me a second chance.
Okay, interesting.
He has.
But he's alive. He's coming here today.
How do you know that? How do you know that if I don't get back, he won't be here?
Okay, interesting.
He's been killed 42 years ago unless I help him now.
What is happening? Yes. Oh my god, just punching people. Okay. What? This is very strange, but I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, he went to the future so that he would know to go back to the past to actually help and not be this coward that he usually is, because this guy needs to live on to be a war hero. Okay, sure. Yeah, we can do that. It's reminded me a little bit of like Back to the Future, like you have to go back to help, the future come true. Yeah, and his plane compared to everybody else's as well. I'm really enjoying it, but yeah, I'm curious to see if he's right.
Hey, where do you think you're going?
Oh my god.
Lost as well?
Turn it off, Decker, I'll fire!
Oh, fire! I'd rather die.
Yeah, if he saved all these people during the Blitz, like... I mean, he shouldn't have left him in the first place, but here we are. He's learned the error of his ways.
Yes?
Air Vice Marshal Mackay, sir.
Fine. We're supposed to be...
I guess it worked. He's here, so he's alive.
Terrence Decker.
Terry Decker? Oh, I certainly should know him. Saved my life.
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
A white cloud, sir?
I don't know. I suppose so.
And then?
Yeah, this guy can, like, confirm his story.
His gun chattering away. He got 3 of the blighters before they got him.
Oh, no. Oh. Yeah, obviously. That's such a weird, spooky.
No.
Because his personal effects were here. He didn't have anything on him. Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Oh, how do they have it, though? So cool. Yeah, this is like one of the few people that could verify.
In heaven's name did you get these?
He's like, funny story. He was here earlier today.
Now what the devil is this all about?
Maybe you'd better sit down.
How do you explain time-traveling cloud to this guy? So that was my first time watching The Twilight Zone, Season 1, Episode 18. I liked this episode. I did feel like pretty early on it was obvious, and even given what Rod Serling said in the previous episode, that this guy was going to be, involved in some time travel. He thinks it's 1917. We find out it's 1959. And I was like, is he going to try and contact his family? Usually when we have these time travel situations that I've seen in other movies and TV shows, if the person finds out anything about the future, that has some pretty big implications. He's not there for long. They do tell him that there is a Second World War that happens, which obviously he wouldn't know about, and that this Mac, character plays such a big part in it, saves a bunch of people during the Blitz. That's kind of the fuel for Decker to get back. Usually if people try and time travel back, they end up somewhere different, but of course, some things have to let go, and especially with it being a shorter episode as well, and an anthology, they can't really continue the story on to the next episode. So it reminded me a little bit of the U-boat episode that we had as well. And, the acting as well is so great. It feels like you're watching a play, just to have Decker and this other person talking to each other, it almost feels like a play sometimes, and I mean that in the best way possible. The performances are so well done. They're obviously very, dialogue heavy. You've got to get a lot of information out in a short period of time. And, what we learn about Decker is he basically ran away. This guy was surrounded by 7 planes and was like, see ya, and took off into a cloud that turned out to be one that has time traveling abilities, which was interesting. And he even brings up another pilot that was from France that disappeared as well. And Decker, openly admitting that he doesn't like conflict. He doesn't really want to be involved in these things. Maybe he just felt obligated to, sign up, be a part of this, and, tries to run away from conflict. He's like, that's why we split up on patrol, because Mac wants to find, a fight. He wants to, take out the enemy, and Decker wants the complete opposite of that. He just wants to fly around and pretend that everything's fine. And to see him switch and go back and knowingly put himself in danger just so that this guy could live, because he realizes that if this guy dies, he's not going to be around to save the people, in the next World War. And this guy goes on to be such a hero, and the legacy that he leaves, and Decker plays a huge part in that. He goes back and is able to save Mac, but at the cost of his own life as well, which was so sad to hear. But the fact that he even went back when clearly he ran away in the first place, and even when we hear Mac talking about that, he immediately recognizes the name. He says, yes, of course I'm gonna know who this person is. He died for me, basically, and takes out 3 of the planes before he dies as well. And the fact that his personal effects were there, that kind of gave me goosebumps, because it just brings everything, full circle. Yes, he was here. They didn't just imagine it. They're having a hard time believing this, because obviously it would seem very strange, in present day, if someone just walked into a building saying they were from the 1950s, it would seem very odd. And you could tell, obviously, his plane compared to the other planes was very old, and they call it an antique. And the way he's dressed, the older names for things that they don't use anymore. And I'm glad that they figured that out early on. I'm glad they didn't have the whole episode where he's like, where am I? 5 minutes into the episode, he figures out what year it is. And then we have the second half of the episode, which I liked learning about this character and, his motivation behind things. We see Decker become less concerned about his own well-being, and maybe he doesn't think he's going to go on to be a war hero, but after hearing all the great things that this other guy was doing, he, is motivated. He wants to help. He flies back, and knowing that where he left him off wasn't in a good spot, but knows that if this guy dies, so many other people are going to die. And even that guy, pointing a gun at him saying, I'm going to shoot you, and he's like, go for it. I'm glad Decker went back. We had that character arc of him changing his ways, realizing that he can't run away for forever. He has to step up. He has to be involved, and is able to save Mac's life. And to have Mac do this tour on the exact same day, March 5th, all these years later, and, retelling the story, obviously, of how he survived. And to me, that was the proof that we needed. Otherwise, it could have been, okay, maybe he didn't make it back if this guy never shows up. He obviously died as well, because he wouldn't have made it to the future. But yeah, there he is. He walks in the door, and It also reminded me a little bit of like A Christmas Carol. Like he, sees what the future could look like and he doesn't want that future for himself. So he decides to change it. And, Decker finally stepping up and taking action. And ultimately, seeing the effect that that has on Mac and him being able to survive this and then survive another war. Like it's 1959, World War II is obviously over. So he has this, very decorated military history and is now able to tour these facilities and clearly is somebody in high regard in the military. And that wouldn't have been possible without Decker, finding this cloud and traveling to the future. If it had been any other day, any other cloud, he would have just left him there to die, basically. And then would have had to live, with that on his conscience. I haven't heard of like a time traveling cloud before. That was interesting. I know there's TV shows and stuff about planes disappearing and then suddenly reappearing, or even, Lost, where they crash on an island, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, it definitely reminded me a little bit of like the Bermuda Triangle, like this area that's known for having very intense activity of supernatural things. So yeah, just him flying up to this cloud, and that's what and of course, like, which cloud is it? And that he couldn't hear the engine running in the cloud as well, I thought was interesting, because that should have been a red flag if you're a pilot and you can't hear the engine. Overall, I thought it was a good episode. I like that Decker goes back and he's able to save Mac, and Mac goes on to do these, heroic things, and, Decker ultimately losing his life because he chose to finally, not run away, not be a coward, and, help out. But he had to see the reality of what his future looked like in order to do that. So yeah, that was interesting. I love sci-fi. I love time travel stories. So that was really cool. And like I said, I'm glad they didn't take the whole episode for him to figure out that he was in a different year. It felt pretty obvious, even given the previous intro that we had. We know the next episode is also about war. The Faces of War, this portrait, the Purple Testament. So very curious to see where that's going to go. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. So thank you so much for sharing in this first time watching with me. If you have any other suggestions for TV shows you think I should watch, please comment below. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe to this channel, and check back often for more awesome content. Not exactly like a welcome greeting. Just the way he's dressed, even compared to them. Yeah. I'm guessing that's what it was called before. Yeah. Is he a ghost? Yeah, very curious. Some like Bermuda Triangle in the sky. What's going on? This poor guy. Oh, I just got goosebumps.